This set of lectures are going to cover our first organ system of A&P1. This organ system is called the integumentary system. You probably know it more commonly as your skin. So this system's a really good one to start with because I think we're all fairly familiar with our skin. We see it every day. We've probably all have had to repair our skin, either by getting stitches or putting a band-aid on our skin. I think we know the most important function of our skin being protecting us from our environment. But what we're going to do in this set of lectures is cover first the basic functions of our skin, then we're going to get into some of the anatomy, and we're going to get a little deeper than just epidermis and dermis. Each of those regions of the skin are made up of sublayers. So we're going to learn the different layers of your epidermis and then different tissue layers found in your dermis. We'll then talk a little bit about the different cell types you might find in your skin and the function of each of those cell types. We're going to learn some accessory structures like hair and nails and glands, such as your sweat glands and oil glands. And then finally, we'll talk about a couple of the most common pathologies related to the skin, which include skin cancer and burns. So let's begin by briefly touching on the 5 most important functions of your skin. The first one is to maintain the body's integrity. Another way of saying protecting the body. We need to have a nice barrier between the inside and the outside. We don't want to let a whole lot in through the skin unless it's tightly regulated. The next function is to maintain and help maintain body temperature. So most of the heat produced by the body comes from your muscles through cellular respiration and the production of heat. We don't want to lose too much of this heat, so the skin is involved in keeping heat in when needed, but it's also involved in removal of heat. And that's done primarily by sending more blood flow to the skin and sweating, which will pull heat from the skin. Third major function is to activate vitamin D. Your body can make vitamin D naturally. It requires some enzymatic pathways. It also requires other organs besides the skin, such as your kidneys. But the skin helps activate vitamin D by being exposed to sunlight. So you do need to be in the sunlight to be able to activate some natural vitamin D. The fourth function is a sensory component. So your skin has a large number of sensory neurons, all kinds of different sensory neurons, whether it be temperature sensors or nociceptors, which are your sensors for pain. There are touch receptors, there's pressure sensors. All kinds of different sensory information can be obtained using your skin. And then finally, to maintain homeostasis. So the body enters different types of environments routinely. And even though those environments are changing dramatically, whether it's temperature changes, humidity changes, UV radiation, we don't want that to dramatically affect the internal environments. This is a kind of a summary of the different connections between the skin and other organ systems. So this is titled A Focus on Homeostasis, but you can see that many of our organ systems are interrelated. The 11 organ systems don't work independently. And this just emphasizes how important your skin is to other systems of the body. For example, the production of vitamin D is necessary for absorption of calcium. And calcium is important for your bones. So in order to get enough calcium into the body, we need to have enough vitamin D production. The skin is also helpful for the muscular system, for the nervous system, again, to act as a sensory medium. It's involved in the endocrine system that also gets back to vitamin D, and that vitamin D acts as a hormone. It affects your cardiovascular system. The blood vessels that are in your skin will change their size. They will widen or dilate, or they will narrow or constrict. It's involved in our defenses, the immune system. We've got a lot of immune system in our skin because our skin is the organ that is most exposed to pathogens. So there's a lot of immunity in your skin. It's involved a little bit in the respiratory system. So you do have hairs that are part of your integumentary system that are found in your nose. And those hairs help filter out debris that you breathe in. Again, the vitamin D is useful in your digestive system in that it helps absorb calcium. Your kidneys are related to this pathway as well in the production of vitamin D. And then finally, there are some sensory neurons that are involved in your reproductive system. For example, when a baby suckles, that stimulates neurons that ultimately lead to more milk ejection from the breast. Okay, so hopefully this emphasized how important your skin really is to all organ systems. These are a couple images, one being a nice artistic drawing, the other one being an actual micrograph of skin. But this is going to help, we're going to see this drawing numerous times throughout these lectures, but we're going to first focus on just the basics. Obviously, there's a lot of little components on this drawing that we're going to get through. But we first just want to start off by learning the layers. It says here there's 3 major layers. Only 2 of these are technically part of your skin. The subcutaneous layer, or hypodermis, is what your skin is attached to. So technically it's not part of your skin. But let's start superficially. So the outer layer of your skin is known as the epidermis. I think we've heard of the epidermis before. It's a stratified, keratinized, squamous epithelial tissue. So there's numerous layers of cells of the epidermis. The epidermis varies in thickness. There are some areas of the body that has a very, very thick epidermis, like the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. There are other areas in the body that have a very thin epidermis, like the skin on your eyelids are very, very thin. If we move deep, we would then reach the dermis, and the dermis is made up of a lot of different tissues, primarily connective tissues. And we're going to learn a little more about the dermis in another lecture, but it actually has a couple different regions to it, a papillary region and a reticular region. But you'll notice there's a lot of goodies in that dermis. There are hair follicles surrounding a hair. There's little muscles attached to that hair follicle. There's a lot of different types of glands, whether it be sweat glands or oil glands. There's blood vessels, there's nerves, all kinds of different tissues in that dermis, but the basic components are connective tissues. And then finally, that dermis is attached to the subcutaneous layer, which again, also known as the hypodermis, and that is technically not part of your skin, it's what your skin is attached to. That hypodermis has a large amount of adipose. There's also some areolar connective tissue in there, which you can't really see on this drawing. What you see here is all the adipose tissue. And what that adipose tissue does is it helps insulate the body. It acts as a thermoinsulator, so it helps keep heat in when needed in order to prevent the body from getting too cool. So the next lecture, we're going to focus in on the epidermis and talk more about these different layers that are found in that superficial region.